Welcome back to part 2 of my quest to making a fairy gown for ethereal spring. Last time I made the dress of giant blue and green puffy tulle beast. In this part we're going to make a corset and some fairy wings. Let's get started. So I'm going to start working on the wings just for kind of a change of pace while my brain thinks about what else to do with the dress. So this is the design that I sketched out. I used an image of a swallowtail kind of for inspiration because they had kind of this like loopy lower thing that I really like. So I'm going to draw this out on some cardboard, like wing size, and yeah, and then I'll like mold the wire and stuff over top. But this is kind of what we're going for. I might change like some of the just more triangular bits. They're not my favorite part. But I like the, like, I don't know what you would even call this, tail feather looking thing. Yeah, but that's what we shall do now. I copied the design I had drawn out to some cardboard, changing some shapes here and there until I liked the design a bit more. Then I just started shaping the wire, except I struggled with it. Like, I really struggled with it. It was really hard to get it to stay in the shape I wanted, and I didn't know how to wrap it around itself to have it stay put. So I got really frustrated with it. But that's the good thing about projects with a lot of parts. If one part gets to be too much, you can move on to a different one, which is exactly what I did. Well, this sucks. It's really hard to get it like straight. Like it's all crimpy and bad looking. Also, I'm going to need so much more. So this is what I have here is one entire roll of wire, and when I got it, they only have 2 rolls at the store. So I'm gonna need, I don't know, like at least 1 or 2 more for these details, and then so that would be like 4 rolls for one wing and then another 4 for the other. So yeah, I don't know, I'm kind of discouraged because it looks bad and it hurts and and I don't have all the supplies, but that's fine. I'll order some more wire, and once it gets here I can hopefully make this look less bad. Okay, so I got all discouraged and frustrated working on the wings, so I'm going to work on something else now. So I'm going to start the corset, and I have this pattern here from Arania Black Corsets. It's the underbust Sonia pattern. So I'm going to cut it out of this old leftover vinyl I have from another costume, and yeah, I'm not going to do a mock-up because I like to live dangerously, and I've used her patterns before and I know this size fits me. So go! Let's get to corseting. I pinned down the pattern pieces and cut out 2 of each piece. I added seam allowance to the pattern pieces so I didn't have to add any extra to the fabric pieces. After the pieces were cut, I just sewed them all together and did the same with some lining fabric. Alright, so the corset is ready to be sewn together now. I've got the 2 lining layers and then the 2 front-facing layers. I stitched down the seam allowances on the leather or whatever vinyl layer. They're not the neatest, but you know, this stuff is like a nightmare to sew with. Like, sewing the layers together originally is fine because you have this like inner side on the top and bottom, but then once I sew this over, it's like kind of sticky, and my sewing machine doesn't like to travel over it, so I had to like yank it through the machine, which was horrible. But I have my boning channels sewn in. I used some old bias tape that I had left over, and I also had to make a little bit more out of the blue. And it doesn't match, but that's fine because you will never ever see it. So I'm going to sew those together now. Okay, Holy, we have an update. I put the wings aside for a few days because they were being very frustrating. I came back to it with an invigorated spirit. And I think it looks so much better. So, this is one wing, and I am about to work on the second. So I did order a little bit more wire, and it is supposedly the same gauge as the first one, but it is a lot like softer and easier to shape. So that was very helpful. So what I did is I ended up using the wire that I had purchased first for like the skeleton, the outer shape of the wing, and then the softer wire I used for all the inner designs. I also kind of altered the pattern from the original because I thought it looked kind of childish, and then it ended up changing anyway throughout because it's hard to follow those lines with the wire, but I like how it looks, so I'm just going to try and make a relatively identical one. The problem is that I do think it was a good idea to use the firmer wire for the edge, but unfortunately the only remaining wire I have of that is what I used for the first wing that I tried, and it looks like crap. So I don't even know what's going on over there. It's chaos. So I'm gonna see if I can salvage it and make it into a more cohesive shape. Unfortunately as well, I cut bits of it, like I didn't just make one solid shape with it, so it's in more pieces. So I think it'll be more of a pain, but here's hoping that I can replicate it for the second one. I left a long straight piece of wire extending from where the two wings will meet so that there would be something to stick into the corset back and hold the wings up. Now that one wing was complete, I mostly used that as a template and just tried to make the second one over top of the first one. I started by shaping the main outer shape in one continuous piece, then added shorter wire segments in the middle to make the designs. I used needle nose pliers to squeeze the wire and wrap it around the other pieces, and used tin snips when cutting the wire. Making the wings went much smoother this time. I'm not sure if it's because I was more patient, because I wasn't sitting on the floor, because I had softer wire, or because I'm stubborn as heck and refuse to be bested by a pair of fairy wings. Most likely it was all of the above. But whatever the reason, I'm glad I got it to work. Also, a good podcast playing in the background helped. I was listening to the Adventure Zone. Alright, the base structure for both of these wings is now finished. So tomorrow I'm going to go in and just fix any spots where like the loops are a little bit loose, or like I'm just gonna go in and fix up all the imperfections. But for right now, my hand is very sore from the pliers, and my forearm is sore from working with all this wire, so I'm going to go to sleep and probably, hopefully finish this in the morning. I just, just like neaten them up and stuff, and then I can actually cover them with the cellophane. I am not sure yet, so I bought 3 colors of cellophane, and I kind of want to put down a base layer and then add little extra colors of the other 2 films in the middle. Sorry, there's a cat on the table because I'm talking and he's needy. But yeah, I'm gonna fiddle around with some cellophane colors tomorrow, but for now it is time for bed. Alright, it is the next day, and I have kind of gone in and fixed up all the little, wire twisty parts, and then I joined the 2 wings together and wrapped some more wire around to strengthen like the, holster. But yeah, so this part is just gonna go in the modesty panel on the corset. But the wings are done for now, so I'm gonna, well, I mean, the base is done, so I'm going to, oh gosh. So I'm going to start, oh, Camilla's my phone's name, if if that makes any more sense. We're listening to podcasts, but yeah, I'm going to start fiddling with the cellophane and what is happening? Shush. Yeah, I'm gonna start adding some color. I cut 2 pieces of cellophane that were each large enough to cover 1/2 of the wings. Then I used spray adhesive to stick the layers together. My favorite part was when I had a piece that would cover the whole thing, but somehow managed to glue it down to only half. Oh well, it was pretty easy to patch this stuff up. Then I trimmed around the edges, leaving about 1 inch all around, and repeated the process on the other side. I used a heat gun to basically shrink wrap the layers of cellophane together. I got too close a couple times, which melted the cellophane, but I just patched it up with more spray adhesive and cellophane scraps. I'm sure the wings would have looked nicer if I had been better about avoiding bubbles between the layers, but, you know, live and learn. I trimmed the edges down a bit more again, then tried to further shrink wrap and seal them around the wires. I started off by using a lighter. This did not work well. Then I tried using my heat gun again. This did not work well. Finally, I grabbed a candle. This one finally worked. The cellophane actually caught fire a couple times, but it was easy to blow out. I also got wax on myself a couple times, but that's the price you have to pay, I guess. Like I mentioned, I covered up burns or punctures by adding a little bit more spray adhesive and adding a scrap of cellophane over top. This is kind of visible, but from far away you really can't see it. Okay, here are the wings so far. Oh, I think they're a little crooked. So they're just tucked into the waistband of my skirt right now, so it's not going, they're not going to be this low, and hopefully they'll be a little bit more sturdy once they're actually in the corset back, but they look pretty cute so far. I can go through doorways. So I'm going to see about adding more colors to the wings, and I want to kind of shape them so that they're not just out straight from my back and kind of like more on an angle like I'm flying. But I might have to take a break because these were kind of exhausting, but I hope it's worth it. They look really cute so far. Okay, I'm back to working on the corset now because I need to finish it so I can make sure like the wings work. So I got these hooks that I'm going to use for the front closure, and then I might actually sew the front of it closed so it's not like a load-bearing thing, but I guess I'll have to see how strong these hooks are. So I just have them arranged where I'm going to place them. They came with these screws, but no like backing or anything, which is fair because it's not really probably meant to be in a corset. So I have this tool, this kit of like, I don't know what these little studs are called. Probably studs. So ideally I'd be using these bronze ones because they kind of match, but the post is too thick. So this tiny silver ones fit, but like, you know, they don't match. So I'm kind of torn. I guess it's not the worst thing I've seen. I could try and paint it, but I don't think the paints I have would take. I could try and put the screws through and then use like the backs of these somehow. I don't know. I don't think the screw, I don't think it would stay on the end of the screw. So we're in a bit of a pickle. I'm gonna have to have a think about it, and then that's it. I'm just gonna have to think about it. Okay, it's been like 10 seconds since I last was wondering what the heck I should do. I think I'm gonna have to just sew them on. So I'm gonna poke holes and then, yeah, sew them on, and that should be sturdy. And then have to put eyelets in the back. I'm not sure, also, I don't think I've mentioned, I did alter this pattern a little bit. It was more, I mean, the piece is right here. So I didn't take off much, just to like kind of, I like the shape of the front when it's more of an angle, and so it doesn't cover up as much as of the bodice and skirt and stuff, so just so it sits a little more comfortably on my hips. But yeah, I am very anxious to get this done now because I would like to try everything on with the wings, and they need a place to go, so I have to do all this like hardware stuff first. But yeah, I'm gonna poke the holes for these and sew them in, and then I can add grommets to the back that I also have in kind of a similar color to this. So hardware time. So here is how the corset and the wings are looking. So yeah, I'm really happy with how the corset turned out. I really love these clasps. And I think the last time I checked in, I wasn't sure if I was going to add hooks and eyes, like if these were going to be sturdy enough, but they seem to be. Like the bones, I think, are probably helping as well. So at the moment, this is just the one layer of yellow cellophane. I like how it like is multi-toned when it turns. It's really cool. This stuff is kind of flimsy, like, I don't know, I feel like I could have maybe used stronger wire or something and it would have helped. They feel a little bit weak, but once they're in the back of the corset, it's better. So currently, I haven't finished the modesty panel yet, and I think that'll also help keep the wings like more secure. And I might add more to wrap around the U, the like V that holds the wings in. I might add a little bit more just to keep them like together and sturdy. And but yeah, so all that's left to do now for the corset is add a modesty panel / wing pocket, and then that will be the whole thing finished. So here's the wings from a little bit further away. So I feel like I might have to like fiddle around with the positioning of the wings and stuff, but yeah, I'm really happy with how they came out for the first time making wings. I love the little like extra long tail bit. I think they're really pretty. But yeah, it is kind of hard to see the detailing through the wings, so I might go in and add some extra colors, but we'll see. But for now, they're definitely workable. I used some other scrap vinyl to make the modesty panel. For this, I didn't add seam allowance and just stitched it together wrong sides together since the panel wouldn't be seen and this fabric doesn't fray. I made sure the wings would fit in the center open segment and sewed down channels for the bones. Okay, I have a little bit of an update on these wings. So previously I had a like piece of wire kind of lower down here, and they were just like like they wouldn't stay upright. So I moved it up in between where the top and bottom wings are, and then it wraps like around both of them. And holy, they're like, okay, we'll stay up now, sorry. So that was great. So they feel a lot more sturdy now, which is awesome. So I have cut out the modesty panel. I was thinking stomacher, wrong side of the body. I've cut out the modesty panel and I sewed in some boning channels. So basically the wings are going to slip into the middle one, and then I'm going to have a couple bones on either side to support it, and then I will sew it into the corset. Like the lacing will help keep it tight as well. But yeah, much better. Just simple little wire change and poof, sturdy wings. Isn't that from that movie, Role Models. Isn't that the name of the place that Jane Lynch works at? I think it might be. Anyway, so the corset is now completely finished. I just sewed in the modesty panel and laced her up. I'm really happy with everything. I really like it. I think the shape is really nice. And I kind of feel like a pirate right now with this shirt and this corset, but I don't have a problem with that. So yeah, corset is finished, and I mean, I can't put the wings in myself, so I might throw it on the dress form so that I can at least like see how it looks. But with that, I think the corset and the wings are fully done. Alright, so yeah, here are the wings in the newly finished corset. So I think we're good. It's like the modesty panel is wrinkling a little bit, but that's either I don't really care about it, or that should just be something that we can fuss with once I have it on. But yeah, that's that for wings and things. And thus ends part 2 of this making of a fairy dress series. The next part will be making some armor elements, the crown, and other finishing touches, as well as the final reveal. So check back soon. Thanks for watching!